from the New Thought Media Network. This is the Conscious Reality Show with your host, Sarah Stevens-Nichols, where conversation plus intention reveals a new reality. Every week, Sarah and her guests will discuss what they know and what they don't. Experimenting in front of everyone with what else is possible. I'm Sunny Childs, and here is your host, Sarah Stevens-Nichols.
Thank you, Sunny. And good morning, everyone out there. I'm so glad to be here today, and I'm excited at the show that we're going to do. But I also want to just dial into always that this is the Conscious Reality Show, and we are about how do we use consciousness to alter the reality that we perceive. And I believe that one of the phenomenal ways in the world that consciousness is changing and people are changing the reality of their own experience is the 12-step recovery movement, in which there are millions of people all over the planet who are changing their consciousness and their experience of reality. As most of you probably know, there's something called Alcoholics Anonymous, which was founded way back in the 1930s by Bill W. and Dr. Bob, a couple of drunks who went out and out of desperation found each other, found a way that made it possible for them to be sober. Back in that time, the conventional wisdom was there was no way to get sober. If you were an inveterate drunk, then you would probably die of it or end up in a hospital or a mental hospital or a sanitarium forever, or commit suicide, which is another way to die. And so they founded this self-help program, anonymous program called Alcoholics Anonymous, which most people have heard of. But a lot of people don't realize that there are a whole bunch of other anonymous programs out there, 12-step programs, for so many other things. I think a lot of people know there's something called Narcotics Anonymous. Do you know about Workaholics Anonymous? That was the first show we did on 12-step programs you may not have heard of. We did that. Check it out on our YouTube channel, The Conscious Reality Show, under Live. You can see all the shows that we've done. And we are going to be doing a show on Debtors Anonymous in January. So that is another 12-step program you may or may not have heard of. Maybe you've heard of Overeaters Anonymous, which is the topic of our show today. Because these are anonymous programs, even though you might think that, and you would be right, that everyone in Overeaters Anonymous wants every other compulsive eater who's struggling to find out about Overeaters Anonymous. Because it's an anonymous program, we are honoring their media guidelines of Overeaters Anonymous in doing the show today, so that everyone who is identifying as a compulsive overeater in Overeaters Anonymous, a member or a compulsive eater, a member of Overeaters Anonymous today, will not have their face shown and will have the name that they want you to see for them. So I think this is very, very exciting here to have members of Overeaters Anonymous telling us why they got in, what abstinence is. This may be the first time you're even hearing the word abstinence. So if you know someone whose eating is troubling you, call their attention to this show. Maybe they'll hear something that helps them. There are other 12-step programs that also address eating addiction in various ways. But the one that we're going to focus on is Overeaters Anonymous. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Cece and Carrie and David and Nico. So glad
Hi,
you're here.
Sarah.
Hey, how
Hi, Sarah.
fun is it, right, that we get to actually talk about this program with the public in an anonymous way. And so what we're going to do today is look at some of the questions that are in the Overeaters Anonymous literature and some of the tools and what they do. But first, why don't we just have each of you, will start with Cece. Tell us just a little bit about what got you to Overeaters Anonymous and how long you've been around.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Cece. I came into Overeaters Anonymous about 13 years ago in November, so just about 13 years, because I could not stop eating. I was not bulimic. I just did the binging. I also had a horrible cycle of compulsive dieting. But with this program, I've been able to not only abstain from what I call alcoholic foods for 13 years, I've also maintained a 40-pound weight loss, and I've not been on a diet for 13 years, and that is a miracle beyond miracles, because I was always obsessing about not only what was I going to eat and when and how and where, but also how was I going to lose weight. And so this program has given me the ability to not eat these foods and to live a different way of life. And it's been a true miracle.
And what was it like when you got here?
When I got here, so I couldn't stop eating. So I was terrified. I had always heard of Overeaters Anonymous, but I felt like it was going to be really strict and, oh, those people are crazy and I don't need this. I didn't know. I had heard of Alcoholics Anonymous, but didn't really know much about a 12-step program. But when I came in, I learned that I was not alone, and that there's not only people who think the way I think or do the things I do with food, but also there's a bunch of literature that talks about it, and there's a solution. So that
All
is,
right.
yeah, that basically what got me in the doors.
Cool. And let's go to Carrie now. And Carrie, as you introduce yourself, maybe you can tell people, because I bet a lot of people are like, I understand how somebody could stop drinking, just avoid alcohol from forever. What is that with food, and what are you even talking about?
Hey, Carrie, Overeater, it's really hard. One of the things that I've been in for, I don't even know, I'm going to say around 16 years, but I was in an extreme amount of denial when I first came to OA. I came here from another 12-step program where I was working on my 9-step amends to myself. And I realized that dealing with my compulsive eating was a form of amends. And trying to figure out what abstinence looks like has been part of my many years long struggle. I consider myself abstinent now, but every day when I report to my sponsor, I'm like, was I really abstinent? I don't know. It means different things for different people. And I definitely have some foods that I don't eat anymore that I used to eat. And one of the huge effects I will say that OA has had on my life is that I had a persistent digestive problems for my whole adult life and had never been able to find a solution and had never really taken the time I needed to figure out what was wrong. It wasn't easy to figure out the problem. And because of the support of OA, I decided to commit to myself and to my health. I took the time it needed to figure out the issue, and that has had a huge positive effect on my health. So even though I am still working the program imperfectly, one day at a time, working the steps, trying to heal my relationship with food, I'm much healthier than I was before I came to OA, because I figured out that I had a gluten allergy and stopped eating it, and that has really impacted my health positively.
Thank you, Carrie. Let's hear from David now. How did you get here, and how long have you been coming around?
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I'm David. I'm a compulsive eater. Grateful to be with you, and for all those who are listening. Hope you get something out of this. I started coming to the rooms November 2003. So about just over 22 years now. Maintaining an abstinence of 21 years, and maintaining a weight loss of 120 pounds. So my top weight was around 300 pounds. I was married at the time, 2 young kids, stressful job. Got to the point where I couldn't diet anymore. Just didn't want to, just felt I was giving up, and I felt like I was going to be 300 pounds for the rest of my life. A lot of emotional eating, stress eating, social anxiety. When I went out to parties, always found myself going around the food. And I had some compulsive food behaviors, which is what OA definitely helps with as well. So I would eat in the car, I would graze all day long, I would eat while I was standing up. And I always found myself worried about if the clothes in the closet were going to fit me that particular day, or if I was going to, it's going to be so tight that I was going to be uncomfortable. I've split my pants, I've broken chairs, I've done all of those type of things. And finally, I got to the point where I just was very depressed, and I was hiding it from my wife. She wasn't even aware. And after a binge, I made a call to the contact at an OA meeting, and I showed up. Someone told me about OA 3 years prior to me showing up my first meeting, so I don't give up on planting the seed and letting people know, because it takes what it takes for people to get into the rooms. Until I was ready to accept that I had a problem, I wasn't going to come. I'm grateful that I did. And like I said, 3 years later, I finally walked into the rooms. Yeah.
Thank you, David. And Nico, last but not least, what brought you here, and why do you keep staying here, and what's going on?
Okay. What brought me here was I first came to AA at 12 o'clock noon at Group 1 in Sacramento to get help, because I was on stages of cirrhosis for my second time. And it was at 12 noon, June 7th, 1989. So my sobriety date is 6/7/89. So that's what's helped me.
And that's with alcohol.
Yeah,
right?
That was with alcohol. But the chair of the meeting was the first time anybody ever greeted me, as a non-white, didn't look like anybody else, Asian. There was no Asians coming at that time, and I'm really Asian, and I was an Asian hippie type. I've been a hippie since the hippie days, and in his share, he was really, really cool. And then in his share, he looked at me and started sharing at me that he was keeping off 125 pounds. So he caught my attention real quick, because he was real tall, slim, and very handsome. And I wanted to look like him. He looked like a tall Al Pacino.
So you wanted to look like the AA speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the way he looked, and so I was turning around. I didn't see anybody else reacting. I thought he must be talking to me, and I'm thinking, it's kind of weird, you know. What is he, gay or, wants me or something? But then, right after the meeting, I made a beeline to him. He made a beeline to me. I said, "Hey, man, were you sharing at me? Talking right at me during the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
especially during the weight loss thing." He goes, "Yeah, I was. You shouldn't do that stuff, but I was doing it so you wouldn't run out the room." And while I was talking, I just didn't want you to, miss the fellowship and tell you what I've been through, because my main program's OA. And I go, that OA, I've been there a couple of times, but I kind of didn't like it. I felt like my diet club was better. And he
Mm-hmm.
told me that, where do you live? So I told him I lived in Southland Park. And he told me, well, there's a meeting tonight at 5:30. I would go and meet you there, but I have an important meeting after work and I can't get there, but I'll be at this one later. But he said, go there and I'll call a couple of my friends and tell them you're coming there. And I was married and stuff, not happily. We're sure it wasn't just my eating, it was causing my eating problem. And then I went to the meeting and I was really home strong. I really liked the meeting a lot.
So you just knew you belonged there?
And it didn't help. I mean,
Well, what
that,
was going on with your eating at the time, or your relationship
well,
with food?
it was really bad. I was very obese and over 300 pounds.
Oh,
I was really worried about hitting the big four, but I was really worried about dying from cirrhosis of alcohol.
I see. So
Uh, so-
that was what you thought was killing you the
yeah,
fastest.
I knew it was, because when I was 21, I had it, and then I didn't like the meetings, and I didn't like where it said, "As you understand God," and all I thought was that if they called that God of your choosing Allah, nobody would be here in this room. And I was saying,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to call it Buddha is a total misuse of Buddhism, because anybody could be a Buddha. That's how little they knew about it. So I just felt, forget all that, The main thing is I gotta quit the juice, and or I'm gonna die. And I was throwing up blood and waking up craving tons of food too, because I always did it with food. But I knew that Overeaters Anonymous, what the things I heard, I thought this is the way. It was only the big book and the AA, AA big book and the AA 12 and 12 back then. So people had the principle strong, and that meeting I went to was particularly really strong, and the people were serious. There was a lot of people who had lost like a lot of weight, and some that didn't lose too much, but it was still just as hard of a struggle for them. And I met other bulimics, but I was so in denial of bulimia. I didn't even consider it a problem, and certainly nothing I could quit doing ever, hopeless state of mind and body. And so I thought, well, in here, this is a life changing thing. And I understood it was a deep life changing thing, because when I first had cirrhosis, when I was 21, I came to AA, for maybe a year or two, but I knew about OA, but in in AA, it got me to quit drinking the juice, the hard liquor. And I had no problem with wine and beer, so I thought, why quit? Because that helped me detox, because I wasn't detoxing from wine and beer. I was just detoxing from hard liquor. And I found, my sponsor told me a place like Italy that a lot of people still took communion, drank a little a little wine and stuff, so they used it, so it wasn't a big deal. So I thought, well, that's the same with me. So I was
All
still
right.
drinking
Well,
wine and beer. Yeah.
so Nico, we'll hear from you a bit more. Let's just see here, up here on the screen is the Overeaters Anonymous preamble. Overeaters Anonymous is a fellowship of, it says, of a fellowship of individuals who through shared experience, strength, and hope are recovering from compulsive eating. We welcome everyone who wants to stop eating compulsively. There are no dues or fees for members. We are
Looks like Sarah's internet is struggling. So this is Sunny, your producer. We're self-supporting through our own contributions, neither soliciting nor accepting outside donations. OA is not affiliated with any public or private organization, political movement, ideology, or religious doctrine. We take no position on outside issues. Our primary purpose is to abstain from compulsive eating and to carry the message of recovery through the 12 steps. Right now, I think would be a great time if, Cece, could you lead us in the Serenity Prayer?
Yeah, I would be honored. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Great. Thank you so much. Right now, let's go ahead and hear a little bit more. Right now, we've talked a little bit about that abstinence means different things to different people. And I want to go back to the questions that started the show.
Yeah, Sunny, I could jump in and talk about that if you want, what my experience with that, if you want.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so if you go to OA.org, you'll see a whole list of questions, and these are some of them. I think there's probably like over 20 questions, and when I read them, they're yes or no. So do you eat when you're not hungry or not eat when your body needs nourishment? Yes. Do you go on eating binges for no apparent reason, sometimes eating until you're stuffed or even feel sick? Yes. Do you eat fast or severely restrict your food intake to control your weight? Yes. Is your eating affecting your health or the way you live your life? Yes. And this went on, like I said, for about 20 plus questions. And all of them I answered yes, except to maybe one. And at the bottom it says, if you answer yes to 4 or more of these questions, you may have a problem with food. So it was very, very clear that I had a problem with food. It was my entire life revolved around food. And I didn't know that there was a different way to live. So those questions really clarified what the Overeaters Anonymous program was and why it was going to be, it was clear that it was going to be a great place for me to go. And at my first meeting, that became even more evident.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to either pick a particular question or who haven't really shared about what it was like to realize that this was a place you needed to be?
How about while I'm here, we'll see.
Yes, thank you.
Apparently they're working on our internet at our house and it is going out. The tools of members of OA use to get abstinent. That's up on the screen now, and I'd love it if people could take turns talking about that.
David or Carrie, Nico, who would like to talk about the tools?
I could talk about, this is Carrie, I could talk about the tools
Thank
for a
you,
minute. A plan of eating was the first thing that I used. When I first came to OA meetings, I would hear people share about something they were doing, like weighing or measuring their food or committing what they were going to eat. And I thought, that's crazy. I'm never going to do that. How do I know what I'm going to eat all day? I don't know what I'm going to eat in 5 minutes. And sure enough, everything I thought was crazy, I ended up doing. And so one of the earliest things that I did in OA was getting a food sponsor to whom I sent a list of, I wrote down what I was going to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and any snacks during the day. And then I would report to her the next day how I had done with my plan. And that just got me conscious. It gave me some accountability. And it was super helpful to me. And she would give me feedback on how she thought I could, more align with healthy eating. And she was the person who first introduced to me the idea of getting a food scale and weighing out different, ounces of different proteins, vegetables, carbs, which also seemed crazy to me. But, I weighed and measured my breakfast this morning, and I wouldn't do it any other way. It's a habit now. I will also say sponsorship has been super important to me, the support of, and working the steps, which isn't here, but I will say that's writing. Working the steps was really hard for me to get started in OA, but that has been what's really made the difference in the recent years. Is I'm on step 11 now, and it's really changed my life.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to one of the tools?
I can. This is David. When I first started coming to the rooms, the meetings were very important to me. I really started connecting with people, and I felt a part of. I'm a very shy, introverted person, so I had a hard time breaking through and kind of listened a lot. The meetings really, really helped me to connect with others and to feel like I was able to open up and let somebody in. I suffer from isolation, as a lot of us do. And I'd rather be very private and not share my thoughts. And I was able to be vulnerable as time went on and let people in. And that really helped me to share those feelings with others. It was not only helping me, but helping others. And I didn't even realize that. So the meetings really helped. And when I got a sponsor and started working the steps, that's really when the magic happened, and I started changing and becoming a better person. And what a gift. It's a gift to have a sponsor, to be able to connect connect with someone one-on-one, work the steps. And then it's a gift to be a sponsor. And I have several sponsees now, and what a relationship that is, to watch them grow and to change and to become a better person and to establish a relationship with a higher power. And again, it's just been a tremendous gift for me.
David, you've been in the program for 22 years, it says, and you talked a little bit about sponsorship, which I would have asked you about anyway, so thank you. When a person comes in as a newcomer, how do they get a sponsor?
So it's a great way, because it's a great question too, because you're not really sure and you're just going to a meeting and saying, hey, what do I do now? So there, we do have beginners meetings, and to help the beginner to understand what's, how this goes. And it is finding someone who has what you want is really what we say in a way, that you want to work with them. You see someone else, as Nico was saying, that they saw, so they wanted to be that person almost, that speaker. So to find someone who has what you want, and ask how they're doing it, and that's really it. And then a sponsor is only a guide. There is no hierarchy in OA. We're all the same. We're all equal. So we're really just helping each other. And my sponsors, said everyone can use a 12-step program. And I really believe that. He also told me that I have a disease, we have a disease. And I was grateful for that, because I was blaming myself. I had a lot of shame coming into OA. So it was great to have that conversation and to find out, we were able to have that sharing. It's like, I thought I was the only one who did these things. And he said, no, you're not alone. So I was grateful to hear that.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short network identification break. And when we come back, hopefully Sarah, our host, will rejoin, and we can talk more about OA and the tools of the program that work for you. So just hang on a moment while we go to station identification.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
So thank you. And for all of those of you who are joining us for the first time this morning, we have today members of Overeaters Anonymous sharing with us their experience, strength, and hope, and more about how they have changed their reality through a 12-step recovery program. This program is hosted by Sarah Nichols, and it's the Conscious Reality Show. Thank you so much. Let's continue talking about the tools. And one of the things I was thinking about and wondering, and some of you mentioned a little of this, is this program isn't just for overeaters. And so how do those who have disordered eating or dysfunctional eating or harmful eating patterns that are not necessarily overeaters, how do they fit into the program? Are there any of you that can speak to that?
Yeah, I can speak on that.
Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, like with me, with these tools, you know, all of them I naturally do. I never have to work them or have a sponsor tell me to use them or anything. But like a plan of eating was kind of a joke to me because my bulimia and the amount of food I ate, but I didn't count that binging and purging as my food plan. And my food plan I felt was pretty good because it was straight out of one of my diet clubs I belonged before. I had been in since I was like 11 or 12 years old, almost my whole life, and I was 32 when I got here. So I would go on that food plan basically, and OA didn't really have a food plan, so eating what I wanted didn't work. But yeah, so mainly I was a bulimic, and then I found out that there were special emphasis bulimic anorexic meetings in OA, and so I started going to them. There was a couple in Sacramento, and they were closed to other people with just plain overeating issues. And so when they were closed, it was neat because talking about binging and purging is very dangerous in a meeting, because right away people get ideas and they never even heard of doing it until people start talking about it. So
it can be triggering and be accidental information, so to speak.
Yeah.
So these meetings are closed meetings, but if they want to find out where to find either these special meetings or other OA meetings, we've got a QR code in the corner, and the links that we're sharing during the meeting will also be in the comments on YouTube later. Just for folks who are tuning in, who want to get in contact or find out more about OA, we recommend you going to using that QR code or going to OA.org to find out more. Thank you so much, Nico.
And Sunny, if I could just interject, it's Carrie. Absolutely. I just want to say I'm one of those people Nico is referring to, that I found myself sitting in some meetings, listening to meetings that were mixed, overeaters and people who restricted, and listening to some of the things they did and thinking, could I do that? I didn't ever pick up those behaviors, but I do get the triggering effects.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Nico.
Can I also share? No, it's
David.
It's David. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm also a restrictor and an exercise bulimic. So I used to get the high on losing the weight, and was a slave to the scale, the bathroom scale. So I'm grateful to not be that person anymore. There are anorexics, there are bulimics in regular meetings, and then there's also specific focus meetings that we have in OA. So when I had trouble sharing originally, when I came to OA, I went to a men's meeting. And there are meetings for anorexics, bulimics. There's a lot of different specific focus meetings. If people need that, you need to be around people a little bit more like them. That we also offer that as well.
Thank you, David. So if you're just joining us, we've been talking to OA members about how they use the program and the tools, and we've talked about sponsorship, and we've even talked about special meetings targeting or focusing on folks who have restrictive eating or have particular patterns of eating that may not be appropriate to talk about in a general OA meeting. And we've got our host, beautiful Sarah, back to join us. And Sarah, you want to maybe ask a question or move us forward? Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Sunny. Did we break to acknowledge our sponsor?
We absolutely did.
Yay. I understand that in 12-step programs, they like to honor their sponsors. So that's good. Hey, everybody. What haven't we covered? What has sparked you that you've heard in somebody else that you wish we talked about, that people need to know about your experience or overeating? I always think this question of what it really looks like to be abstinent is on people's minds when they first start thinking about this. And there it is. Yeah.
Oh, this is Carrie. Can I just share a little bit? It may not be exactly on abstinence, and I will say
That's
that
okay.
Unlike diet clubs of various kinds, OA is not a diet club, but I have to be honest and say that I came in because I wanted to lose weight, and I've stayed because I want to take good care of my body with food, whatever that means, and whatever
Right.
my weight may be. And one of the things that I have, before I came in, one of my behaviors was to at times eat until I was absolutely could not eat another thing, stop until there was room in my stomach, and then start eating again. I was thinking all day, what can I eat? What can I eat next? What can I eat next?
Right.
And that has been lifted, but I still struggle. After dinner, I'm not hungry, but I want to put something more in my body. And what I've been working on is what's the real need under that, which is not hunger, obviously. There's some other need. There's something from childhood, maybe something that I'm trying to comfort myself in some way with food. And if I can get down to the real need and address that, then I can address the eating issue. So it's not just about don't eat that, because that doesn't work for me to just tell myself don't eat that thing. It's about really nurturing myself and meeting the needs that were unmet that I was trying to meet unsuccessfully with food. And working the steps has really helped me with that.
Well, let's talk about the steps some more. And maybe we can even take the slides down during this. But what is steps? What are these spiritual steps? Why is it why does it have to be a spiritual program? Why don't people just come in and then they talk and they get other people give them tips about what to eat and tell them how to stop eating the things they eat? Why does that not work? Why do they have to do the step thing?
Well, I think that the steps are really important, because with step 1 in the AA 12 and 12, Bill talks a lot about what did AA need to keep going, which is, an OA too. And this major step was 12, and 1 is about humility, and not in humility in the idea that humility means anonymity means humility, that when somebody comes in the room, no more initials after their name or before it. It's just like one member who has a few days is just as good of a member as somebody who's been here for 20 years, transferring their units and saying, oh, I've been in AA. I've been in the mothership, and now I'm in OA, so I kind of know what we're doing. And it's like, that don't work. It's just a whole nother game, you know. It
Yeah.
don't count, and it really hurts them because they're lacking humility. They're stuck on big shotism, you know, stuck on ego, and it's about ego deflation.
So is willpower how people are getting abstinent, or is it this, what is this thing called powerlessness? That's step one. Can people talk about why that's important? Why would I want to say that I'm powerless?
Sure, I can talk about that, Sarah. It's David. Yeah, I admit that I'm powerless over food every single day, and I turn my will and my life over to the care of my higher power every day. I have to. I can't do this alone. Um, I have an issue with food, and I'm not like a normal eater, and I never will be. Um, so I had to smash that image that I could ever be a normal eater again. So I cannot recover on my own. I need a higher power in order to help me, and as the steps say, restore me to sanity. It was hard for me at first to really believe that, I believe that I had a problem with food, but my life unmanageable. Yeah, it really was. My relationships were not good. The way that I thought about food and the way that I lived my life was not really working, and I needed to do something different, and that's why I came to OA, and it absolutely has changed my life. And I'm grateful to have a higher power. I came in with a religion, but not spirituality. OA helped me learn what spirituality is, and I changed from having just a worship relationship with a religious God. I call it the vertical relationship. I changed it to a horizontal relationship and a personal relationship, with God that I know is there for me, and is going to support me and keep me abstinent one day at a time.
So do you have to believe in God to be able to be abstinent from compulsive eating?
Oh, I could speak to that.
Okay.
I'm not religious, and when I first came to 12-step programs, the God stuff was the thing I struggled with the most.
Okay.
And I have, like David said, I've developed a spiritual life. But for me, it's not about religion. It's not about a belief in God, although I might say the word God means something different for me. And sometimes that's meant, like, I think of it as the God radio station. It's a frequency I can tune into anytime I want to, or I could tune into the chaos station, which I often do. But it's available. There's inner wisdom, greater wisdom, higher wisdom out there available. And sometimes I often hear it through other people. Like, that's how higher power speaks to me, is on a meeting. I hear someone share something and I'm like, oh, that really clicks for me. Or I hear myself talking at a meeting and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that I thought that. And that's higher power speaking through me. And I think one of the reasons that I have struggled in OA more than I've struggled in some other 12-step programs is that I kind of had the attitude, I understood surrendering, turning things over, which is something that I've gotten to through working the steps, which, the 12 steps are pretty much the same in all the 12-step programs, and doing a lot of writing and, talking about my character defects and stuff. But I have this visual of myself standing with my arms around the refrigerator saying, no, God, I got this one. I'm like, no, higher power, you stay away. This is mine. I'll handle it. I can handle this. And of course I can't. So, but that surrender can be hard. And I think for me, it's my lizard brain, food is a very primal need. And the suggestion that somebody would take food out of my mouth makes some part of me that is like pre-verbal go, wow, no, don't do that. So it's been a process to really learn how to turn that over.
Interesting. So, this is the Conscious Reality Show. And why it's called that is because I, your host, am really interested in how we use consciousness to change reality. So it sounds like in using these 12 steps through Overeaters Anonymous, you all have been able to change your reality around food. But I'm also curious, and your body maybe, but to any of that, either food or your body, but also what other parts of your reality have changed since you have been working the Overeaters Anonymous program? Can any of you speak to that? Like, what parts of your experience life have improved? Because I get the sense
And-
it is not just about the food or the eating.
And your relationship to self and others.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny.
I can speak to it, Sarah. It's David.
Thank you, David.
Absolutely. Before I came into OA, I was a people pleaser. I really didn't have a sense of worth on my own. I looked at other people, and whatever they said I was, and that's how I determined my worth. Um, I didn't feel like I had a lack. I feel like I had a lack of purpose as well. Very low self-esteem, and all of those things changed. All of those things changed. I mean, I have a very good career, all of those things, but yet I came into OA just feeling that way. And all of those things have changed thanks to OA. And now, I have a sense of purpose. Um, I know who I am. I love myself. Um, and it was all through the steps. I set boundaries around other people and relationships, and I support and help them. I don't have to do things that would cause me to feel like, I deserve to eat over that. And that's what I used to do. I was like, oh gosh, I did everything for everybody else and I did nothing for myself. Now I'm going to eat over that. And I don't feel like I have to do that today. So yeah, I do feel that the steps have really changed me, the person that I am. And I really am grateful for the person I am now. I do have a spiritual life and do believe that I'm living to do God's will today, whatever that may be, one day at a time. And I love that about my life. So thanks.
Thank you. Thanks,
This is
David.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yeah, if I could speak to that too. I will say for me, it has really deepened my commitment to self-care. Like before, there just isn't enough time for self-care. I have other things to do. I have other people, some of it was codependence and some of it was just being really focused on other things. And now it's enabled me. My most recent example is that I've been struggling with a little bit of high blood sugar, getting into that pre-diabetic range. And my first response was, this isn't fair. I'm in OA. I eat, a good, healthy diet. But then I got grounded in reality and willing to take steps to change it. I was willing to change my diet, and I've been willing to make some changes in my exercise to see what works. And I'm committed to keeping with that until I, am clear on what works to keep myself healthy. And I don't think I would have had the perseverance before to put my health first.
What I'm hearing is that, and this is Sunny, producer, what I'm hearing is that the steps and the program aren't just about managing your eating. In fact, they're not about managing your eating. These steps are applicable in other areas of your life. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a whole life program.
Yeah, that's the 12th step. The 12 steps are kind of like all the steps. It's a review of all the steps. But to me, the most important step is getting through step 9 and having all the promises be true for a while.
What's step 9, Nico? What's that one about?
That's where your amends are all done, as best as you could do them. And then you step into the promised land, where the 9-step promises are true, where we're going to know new freedom and new happiness, and, on it goes. But I live by the 10th step promise, page 85 in the big book. It says, for by now, sanity will have returned, which means you took step 2 and you took it good. You came to a place to believe that, you know, there's a higher power that will relieve you of your suffering, and that, you know, if
Yeah.
tempted, we recoil as if from a hot flag. I mean, a hot, whatever it
A
is, but
stove.
a
Yeah.
hot flame. But also, you know, it talks about really abstinence is really kind of like a 24-hour thing from the time you wake up in the morning. It's a one day at a time thing. And that, you know, if tempted, you recoil as if from a hot flame, and this has happened naturally, like you're in a state of immunity, you know, neutrality, and we're neither fighting it no more. So it's really a spiritual state you live in. And when I try to make sure my 9-step promise is good, because I know that nothing tastes as good as abstinence feels, and that
Yeah.
living in a slim, trim body, 135, 140 pounds versus 400 pounds. And I know what it's like to have a 62-inch waist and be deformed, be circus weight, you know? And,
Wow. Well, let me interrupt you on the concept of amends for a second, in the sense of, I think, as I understand it, that's the one that most people associate with going around and apologizing to everyone that you've hurt. And it's easy to notice that with alcohol and Alcoholics Anonymous, you can really picture what a drunk or a drug addict, the ways in which they would have hurt their family and friends and people they worked for. But what does an overeater have to apologize for, besides just hurting themselves and their body? How, or to make amends for? What kinds of things might a person, David, I see you unmuted. Why don't you take this? What kinds of things might a compulsive overeater have to make amends for?
Well, it could start with the resentments, and what the fourth step does. The action steps are 4 through 9. So the step 4 would be taking an inventory and looking at the things that I've done in my past and the things that are causing me and blocking me from my higher power and blocking me from recovery. And that's what the fourth step is allows me to look at the defects that I've had and what caused them. So for me, it could have been anything from my childhood. I had stolen something from a friend, and I was hiding it, and it was bothering me. And so I made an amends for that. Um, there are there are things that just have cropped up over the years that I just continue to think about, and they're the things that I need to write down on paper, and then, you know, a lot of them had to do with my wife and my children as well, things that I did to them. There's neglect always, because if I'm primarily thinking about food, I'm not thinking about them. I'm not
Mm,
present in their life.
mm,
And so I
yeah.
did that. I did that a lot. I had to make an amends for that. I even was upset with the kids after I had been in OA. Um, uh, uh, One of my children said to me, "Is it okay if I eat this last, banana or whatever it was? I don't know what it was, but." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. What's the problem?" And I realized, oh, yeah, it was probably because I chastised them for eating the last snack cake when I was in my disease, you know? And
Mm,
so those are the
yeah.
things that I had to really let go of
Yeah.
and to turn over. So that was part of my amends process.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot. There's probably a ton more that people would like to know about Overeaters Anonymous. But let's say that if you do want to know more, the thing to do, it sounds like, is get to a meeting, get to the OA website. There's a QR code up in the middle, on the upper screen here. And I think we may have another final slide on that we can show. Yeah.
Sarah,
And yeah.
can I say one thing about meetings? I just want to let
Yeah,
people
sure.
know that if you can't make it to a physical meeting for whatever reason, There are many, many phone and Zoom meetings in OA.
Oh, yes.
So yes,
A
you can find.
byproduct of COVID, right?
Yes, although I think some of them have been going since before then, but yeah, there's really good phone and Zoom meetings, so lots of
Fantastic.
ways to connect.
So if you either think you might be a compulsive eater, or if you know someone who's eating is troubling you, get to that OA.org. It's super easy. You don't even have to use a QR code or anything. OA.org, and go there. Everything you need is there. Access to literature, access to meetings, questions that you can take, like a little quiz as to whether you're a compulsive eater or not. And check it out. Check it out and see. That's the only thing you can do, right? Maybe you're positive it's not for you. Well, how would you know if you didn't go? So that's my pitch there. And this is one of the tools for changing conscious reality, is getting clear on our addictions and treating them, and not having to live in that pain, and not having to be alone anymore. So I'm excited for anybody who finds, if only one person gets relief from this disease because of this show that we did today, how amazing would that be? And if it's more, how does it get even better than that? All right. Let's say goodbye to our guests. And just
before we do that, you want
Yes.
to close with the Serenity Prayer?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Sunny. Let's close with the Serenity Prayer. I'll say it with you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is a prayer, by the way, that predates Alcoholics Anonymous. It just existed in the world and was used, and it can be used by anybody. So if you're suffering out there about anything, one thing to do is just think, what can I change and what can't I change right now? And usually the number of things that I can't change are, or at least apparently can't change, are huge. And then that narrows it down to what I can actually do. So that's a great reality consciousness changing tool. Yeah. So if you want to know more about what I'm up to, you definitely need to subscribe to my newsletter, and there is a code for that on the screen. I do have a book out that's coming out in March, God willing, from Divorce Publications, called How to Know What You Know, a handbook for making up your mind. If you're interested in being able to be one of the first people to acquire that book and read that book, then you would want to be on my newsletter. And we do have an upcoming show on Debtors Anonymous. It should be the second Wednesday in January. So stay tuned for that. If you are in debt, or know someone who's in debt, or are vague or dishonest with money. One of the slogans in that program is, what happens in vagueness stays in vagueness. My very last of the year, Heal or Heal Thyself Tuesday, is this next Tuesday. So if you're watching the show right now, it's the whatever the next Tuesday is, not the 17th, the 16th. And you can still drop in for it if you wish to. Just follow the information on that screen there, or in the YouTube listing on there below. You can sign up for it. And in the newsletter, you'll find all the other fun things that I'm doing, upcoming speaking engagements, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Well, thank you, David and Nico and Cece and Carrie and our producer Sunny, and let's let it rip.
Thanks to our guest, to host Sarah Stevens Nichols, and to the New Thought Media Network. I'm Sunny Childs, producer of The Conscious Reality Show. Join us live next Wednesday at 9 a.m. or stream the show at your convenience. Subscribe to Conscious Reality Show YouTube channel so you never miss a show. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out www.sarahstevensnichols.com.
All right. And let's go ahead and end the stream because we're not going to do the talking about it.